UK to finish with coal power after 142 years. This from the BBC. The UK is about to stop producing any electricity from burning coal, ending its 142-year reliance on the fossil fuel. The country's last coal power station at Ratcliffe-on-Soar finishes operations on Monday after running since 1967. This marks a major milestone in the country's ambitions to reduce its contributions to climate change. Coal is the dirtiest fossil fuel, producing the most greenhouse gases when burnt. Minister for Energy Michael Shanks said, "We owe generations a debt of gratitude as a country." The UK was the birthplace of coal, and from tomorrow it becomes the first major economy to give it up. It's a really remarkable day because Britain, after all, built her whole strength on coal. There is the Industrial Revolution, said Lord Deben, the longest-serving Environment Secretary. The first coal-fired power station in the world, the Holborn Viaduct Power Station, was built in 1882 in London by the inventor Thomas Edison. You might have heard of him, bringing light to the streets of the capital. And there he is. Thank you, Mr. Edison. From that point through the first half of the 20th century, coal provided pretty much all of the UK's electricity, powering homes and businesses. In the early 1990s, coal began to be forced out of the electricity mix by gas, but coal still remained a crucial component of the UK grid for the next 2 decades. In 2012, it still generated 39% of the UK's power. Isn't that crazy how quickly it's gone from coal producing nearly 40% of the UK's power to zero in just 12 years? So what's taken its place then? How renewables and gas have displaced coal. Here's the percentage of UK electricity generated by sources each year, this taken from the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. But the science around climate change was growing. It was clear that the world's greenhouse gas emissions needed to be reduced, and as the dirtiest fossil fuel, coal was a major target. In 2008, the UK established its first legally binding climate targets, and in 2015, the then Energy and Climate Change Secretary Amber Rudd told the world the UK would be ending its use of coal power within the next decade. Dave Jones, director of Global Insights at Amber, an independent think tank, said this really helped to set in motion the end of coal by providing a clear direction of travel for the industry. But it also showed leadership and set a benchmark for other countries to follow, according to Lord Deben. Quote, "I think it's made a big difference because you need someone to point to and say, there, they've done it. Why can't we do it?" he said. Like Norway, for example, who have not only reached a staggering 90% battery electric vehicle share of sales, but is also the world's first to have more EVs on the roads than internal combustion engine cars. I'd say they've done it, why can't we? And every other country too. In 2010, renewables generated just 7% of the UK's power. By the first half of 2024, this has grown to more than 50%, a new record. Now that's something to show off about as a country, is it not? In the past 12 years, we've gone from 7% to 50% of our electricity has been generated by renewable energy. Now I'm no mathematician, but surely as a country we could just double down on the amount of renewable energy resources we have, and we'd soon enough get to 100%, would we not? The rapid growth of green power meant that coal could be switched off completely for short periods, with the first coal-free days coming in 2017. And here's the decline of coal in Great Britain's electricity. Daily percentage of electricity generated from coal. And as you can see, all of these green blobs represent a coal-free day. The growth of renewables has been so successful that the target date for ending coal power was brought forward last year. And on Monday, Ratcliffe-on-Soar was set to close. Chris Smith has worked at the plant for 28 years in the environment and chemistry team. She said, quote, "It's a very momentous day. The plant has always been running and we've been doing our best to keep it operating. It's a very sad moment." Lord Deben served in former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's government when many of the UK's coal mines were closed and thousands of workers lost their jobs. He said lessons had to be learnt from that for current workers in the fossil fuel industry. Quote, "I'm particularly keen on the way in which this government and indeed the previous government is trying to make sure that the new jobs, of which there are many green jobs, go to places which are being damaged by the changes." So in the North Sea oil areas, that's exactly where we should be doing carbon capture and storage. It's where we should be putting wind and solar power, he said. How about just stop the pollution in the first place? It's like trying to capture the emissions coming out of the back of your car exhaust. It's obviously a stupid idea. Let's just move forward to a sustainable energy future and there'll be no need, will there? Over on Grok. Carbon capture technology is criticised for being energy intensive, costly, and not scalable enough to address global emissions effectively. It might distract from the investment in renewable energy, has risks of leakage, and often supports the oil industry through enhanced oil recovery, which contradicts climate goals. Thus, it's seen by many as an inadequate primary solution for climate change, more of a technological band-aid than a cure. It's such a dumb, energy-intensive, costly way to try and solve a problem. How about just don't produce the pollution in the first place and plant a shed load more trees if you really want to capture some carbon? Challenges ahead. Although coal is a very polluting energy source, its benefit has been in being available at all times, unlike wind and solar, which are limited by weather conditions. Katie O'Neill, the Chief Operating Officer at the Energy System Operator, the body overseeing the UK's electricity system, said, quote, "There is a whole load of innovation required to help us ensure the stability of the grid, keeping the lights on in a secure way." End quote. A crucial technology providing that stability Katie O'Neill spoke of is battery technology. Yes, myself and others have been literally pulling our hair out now for 10 years trying to say that the solution is battery storage. And guess who's at the top of the leaderboard for that one? That'll be Tesla with these Tesla megapacks. You can just store energy that's created from renewables into these battery packs, use it for later on. And Tesla's own software called Auto Bidder runs the entire thing as well. This has been a solution for a long time now, and what a shame it is that the UK hasn't invested into battery technology, into mining, refining, producing batteries, making their own mega packs. Wouldn't it be great if, for example, the UK government, the Labour Party, would invite someone like Elon Musk to a few events every now and again to try and get him to come into the country and set up some factories and build out these mega pack factories, which would be the solution to storing our energy. Just a quick reminder of what a Tesla Powerwall is. The very purpose of this thing is to store cheap electricity, whether it's from your own solar or whether you just have an overnight tariff where you can have super cheap electricity. If the electricity you use in your home only comes from that very cheap electricity that you've stored in your battery, your electricity costs from then on will be a third to a quarter of what they would be if you were paying peak prices. Battery storage is the future for homes, businesses, utility scale energy projects like this one I visited a while ago. I'll line it up next if you fancy a watch. Dr. Sylvia Wallace, Research Programme Manager at the Faraday Institution, said that there has been significant progress in the science of batteries. Quote, "There is always scope for a new technology, but more focus these days is really how to make it more sustainable and cheaper in production," she said. To achieve this, the UK needs to become more independent of China in producing its own batteries and bringing in skilled workers for this purpose, she explained. So yes, of course we've got coal to thank for generations of warmth, heat, electricity supply. It's kept us all alive quite well, hasn't it? Let's all be thankful for coal's contribution to humanity. Clearly there's a better way forward though, isn't there? We can move forward with sustainable energy, just a cleaner, greener, brighter future. Hopefully, it'll be a lot cheaper as well once the infrastructure's built. Now, that I'm really hopeful for. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Do you think this is a reasonable way forward for the entire planet to get off fossil fuels, get off coal, as Britain has done, move towards a 50% renewable energy future? In another 12 years' time, perhaps it'll be 100%. If you want to know more about one of Tesla's battery facilities here in the UK, click this video next. Or if you fancy a look around one of the nicest showrooms I've ever been round, click this instead. I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw. Thank you Patreons, thank you for watching. Bye for now.